Well, the giddiness of the recent stock market rally will give way to new lows in the new year. Joining us now is Tyler Vernon, portfolio manager with Biltmore Capital Advisors. He oversees about $500 million. Tyler, good to see you.
Great to be here.
Is that happen in the short run, or is that your outlook just for the next 12 months?
I think that's over the next 12 months. I think there's still some positive things over the short run. We're talking the next couple months. I think as people get disappointed about the stimulus package and continue to see some other negative effects happening regarding consumer spending as we go, we're going to hit some new lows in 2009.
Do you see, because I'm looking at some of these consumer stocks, like a Cheesecake Factory is almost doubled from the low hit in November, which just seems insane. But do you think that we're going through a shift in consumers in the entire economy and how we spend that could last, well, years, really?
I certainly think we're 100% right, really for two things. And I want to talk as this relates to the stimulus package and how that will relate. First of all, we don't think this is going to work. We think, stimulating the consumer is just, again, really not going to work, primarily because of the housing crisis that we're currently in. People are not going to be spending money out there when they have mortgage payments that are months behind and credit card payments that are months behind. So, we think this money is going to be directed more towards getting those, in line and paying down some debt and even putting money aside for a rainy day, rather than spending it the way a lot of people think.
If you give a $1,000 tax credit to a family, a middle-class family, right, based on the numbers we've seen for credit card debt, it's likely they will just simply pay off MasterCard, pay off the banks. Very little of that is likely to go into Best Buy.
Yeah, I just don't see how people think it's going to have the effect that it will. And to your point, over the number of years, we've had 80 million people, these baby boomers, spending more and more and more money. And if we think about spending as really a bell curve, they've been spending more money. And in the past, this has worked. Regarding past stimulus programs, they've pumped money in the economy. Now, those baby boomers are going down the other side. We know from studying demographics that starting in second half of 2009, they're going to be spending less and less. And the people that have driven us out of these problems in the past are now not going to be able to do it. So I really do think there's going to be a longer-term shift towards higher savings, less spending, and more of an effort to pay down debt.
But in the short run, you think just the optimism about the new administration, Barack Obama coming in as president, and money in their hands is enough to keep driving the market higher, even though we've already had a bull run from the lows in November. The S&P is up more than 20%.
Yeah, I do think that. Last time I was on the show, we called for a 15 to 20% rally. We're up about 9% since then. We still think we're going to get that full 15 to 20%. And that's really just based on euphoria about this new campaign and the stimulus program. I think when people realize that this isn't going to be working, that's when we're going to see some new lows in 2009.
Well, you also have bonds beginning finally to sell off a little bit. Treasuries are still hot, but if that money comes out of debt, do you believe then it will go into equities?
I think it will short term. I think there's going to be a larger shift towards money going into other forms of debt. We already seen corporate bonds rally a good amount off their lows, high grade corporate debt. And I think smart money is going to be going into these munis and other corporate debt that has just fallen precipitously again from.
Yeah, is that what you recommend? I mean, if we are on the verge of tax increases for what the government calls the wealthy, the wealthy are going to look to minimize that tax burden, presumably by putting money into tax-deferred instruments such as munis.
Yeah, we were a little bit wary of munis. I think we have to be very selective. There's a lot of municipalities out there that haven't even shown their revenue numbers going back 2 years, 3 years. So how do we know their ability to actually pay this bond? So I think we have to be very selective when it comes to munis, but the government has already come in and said they'd, in some cases bail out or give some money to some of these local municipalities. So I think if we can get, a good diversified portfolio of munis paying 6%, before tax, that's a 9% plus after-tax yield.
Yeah, but diversifying here is really critical because even with junk, which has rallied, if you have individual exposure to some of these junk bonds, the downside risk, particularly in default, is much greater than many people would think.
Correct.
People are talking about getting 10 cents on the dollar in some of these issues if they're defaults.
Yeah, not only issue specific, but also state diversification. I mean, for somebody to buy 100% New York State, I mean, we see that all the time. Investors come with $5 million, New York State specific bonds. I think these things need to be diversified, throughout the country as well.
I'm looking at the dollar here, a chart of the dollar, which has done very well, and I've been sort of harping on the stronger dollar story. Do you think that's a one-time thing, or do you think the dollar will continue to strengthen? And if it does continue to strengthen, is that going to be particularly bad for the companies that were the rare bright spots in '08, which are some of the exporters? Because there's a balance, right? We talk about the infrastructure play. Everyone says, oh, buy CAT. It's a no-brainer because of the infrastructure spend. Well, if they sell less around the world, because of the higher dollar, it balances out.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this dollar has to weaken. I think it's going to weaken significantly. Fundamentally speaking, when all this money's going out for all these bailouts, I think we're going to hit new lows, which is one of the reasons why we like gold so much. We've seen, again, since the last show, already a 12 to 13% rally in gold, and we think that's going to continue as we get more forward in '09. I know since you love the income. I agree, but we can also sell it at some point and take some gains.
Long run, you like commodities, though, and don't you have to have a global economy that's healthy in order for commodities to be a good bet for years to come?
Well, more specifically, we like oil, and we like gold within that commodity umbrella. So, we think really this is overdone. We think speculators, just like they drove up oil, that it's too far underpriced. I mean, we're still going to be driving cars. Obama isn't going to get his wind turbines up over the next year, and we're not going to be driving wind-powered cars anytime soon. So, we think this people are still going to be consuming a lot of oil, and there's still going to be a good opportunity for both oil and gold and natural gas as far as upside over the next 12 months.
Tyler, it's great to see you.
Great to be here.
Soon. Tyler Vernon with Biltmore Capital Advisors.
All right, we'll see you soon, Tyler.
Right,
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, still to come this hour, President-elect Obama does return to D.C. to discuss a new stimulus plan that may include adding more than 500,000 new workers to government payrolls. How to best position your money for the eventual turnaround in the stock market, Tyler? Maybe not in '09, but hey, in 2020, let's hope we're higher. We're all young.
I think we'll get some upside by then.
If we don't, we got bigger problems. And more on